Evil West. Is this game really underrated or appropriately rated? Well, let's talk about it. Evil West is a third person action game developed by Flying Wild Hog and published by Focus Entertainment. Released all the way back in November of 2022, the game combines high octane combat with a pulp western aesthetic, placing players in the boots of a monster hunter cowboy named Jesse Rentier. I'll be honest, I could be butchering that, but anyway, the game mixes elements of traditional Western with supernatural creatures, offering a unique twist on both genres. This game is just, well, let's just get into the strengths. So, starting off with the strengths combat and gameplay. The combat is arguably the standout feature of Evil West. It's fast paced, visceral, and satisfying. Players use a variety of weapons, including a revolver, shotgun, and gauntlet that can dish out brutal melee damage. The game encourages mixed and ranged melee attacks, allowing players to create a dynamic combo. It's quite reminiscent of one of my favorites, God of War, which, if you're looking for a similar sort of game, please get Evil West. It's not. I've seen a lot of lists that don't actually uh, talk about Evil West when it comes to God of War likes. So please grab Evil West if you can, with its fluidity and focus on spectacle. Graphic and art direction. Evil West has a striking visual style that blends gritty western landscapes with supernatural horror. The environments, while not always groundbreaking, but are beautifully designed and set the tone well. The character models are detailed and the enemies, which range from vampires to grotesque mutated creatures, are creatively designed and terrifying, with absolutely beautiful lighting and landscapes to boot. Just a great looking game. Story. The plot is relatively straightforward but effective. You play as Jesse, I'm not gonna butcher his surname, a member of a secret government agency hunting vampires and other monstrous threats. While the story doesn't break new grounds, it's packed with enough action and mystery to keep you engaged. The atmosphere, aided by a dark, moody soundtrack, complements the tone of relentless, action filled Western adventure. It is just peak PS3 esque era of storytelling, which can be very simple for sure, which I'll get onto in the later point, but it's serviceable and not the sort of in depth sort of story you'd want or need in this sort of game, I guess. Upgrade system. Evil West features an upgrade tree that allows you to enhance both your weapons and abilities. This adds an RPG layer to the experience, giving players reasons to keep progressing. These upgrades are satisfying to unlock and can drastically change combat dynamics and letting you tailor the experience to your preferred playstyle. It's definitely heavily influenced by games like God of War, which the combat is very reminiscent of. So I highly recommend putting enough points into perks, that's for sure, and even buying weapon upgrades. Definitely save up and look for as much gold as possible. There is also a reset machine which you can always just go to and reset all your perks, and you'll be able to just go and spend in which way you want if you want to try a different sort of combat direction.
I'll get them for you. What do I need to know?
Level design. One of more of the noticeable drawbacks of Evil West is the level design. While the environments are varied, the levels themselves can feel very linear and repetitive. Many areas are filled with corridors and arenas designed for combat, which can feel a bit stale after extended playthroughs. From my experience, it's especially from halfway through the game, you'll start to notice and pick up exactly where you're climbing over a certain obstacle and what sort of areas look like combat encounters, because there's no real surprises in the game, which is a very upsetting, disappointing part of the game, that's for sure. I guess on the plus side, it allows you to know that you can upgrade certain bits and pieces now before you're about to jump into an area knowing that there's enemies. So if you want to take something away, I guess you can take that away, that's for sure. Enemy variety. While enemies are very well designed, there isn't a huge variety of them, which can make combat very repetitive, even though the combat is phenomenal, that's for sure. You'll be fighting the same few monsters throughout the game, a bit sometimes different variants or stronger versions of them. It's okay in doses for sure and slowly allows you to progress in gameplay, but does become repetitive near the end of the game where they're literally just chucking loads of enemies at you, nothing new, and it just seems a tiny bit tedious, that's for sure. The story once again. I know I spoke about it as praising it, but it can be very shallow, especially with the motivations of the main character just seem again very shallow and not much going on. It's your typical tough guy trope. It's not the greatest and you don't feel invested in the characters. That's for sure. I wish there was a little bit more depth because that's what I love to get from these games, but if you're not fully invested in the story in these sort of games and you're just there for the combat, which, well, please do enjoy the combat, that's for sure. Feel free to skip the cutscenes on certain ones because it's not the greatest, I'll be honest.
Hope it was worth all those soldiers' lives, you greedy little pissworm.
Clunky controls is very occasional, so combat is very smooth itself, but there are occasional issues with the controls, particularly during more intricate platforming sections, or when trying to quickly transition between combat and exploration. These moments can be very frustrating, especially if you're accustomed to a more polished mechanics of other action games. Especially this being an indie game, and with how it looks, you can, in your mind, you'd expect a more polished version. Just say if you was playing games like The Last of Us or God of War, which obviously had a lot more budget behind it, but it does feel a bit clunky, and I can only imagine if they do make a sequel, which I really hope they do, enough money gets like behind them and they're able to make it a lot smoother experience. That's for sure. In conclusion, Evil West is a solid action game with a lot to offer in terms of fast-paced combat and a fun supernatural western theme. It's not revolutionary in any terms of its narrative and, well, level design, but it provides satisfying gameplay loop and enjoying combat mechanics. If you're a fan of action games like God of War, Devil May Cry, this is definitely one to pick up. You'll like the thrills of Evil West and what it has to offer, that's for sure. Well, I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and please leave a like and subscribe, and if you want more videos like this, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm just gonna let this fight and just enjoy the combat, that's for sure. Anyway, enjoy the video. Take care.